Hi everybody, meteorologist Joe Thompson with you here. I want to give you a quick update on what we're expecting with this major winter storm that is going to be moving through our area as we go through Super Bowl Sunday. That is going to have significant impacts on our area. It's going to break it all down so you know what to expect. Winter storm warnings already in effect all across our area, all of Northwest Ohio, all of Southeast Michigan, part of those warnings, and it's really all along the I-80 corridor. These warnings actually extend all the way into eastern Pennsylvania and go as far west as western Illinois. So a good 800-mile stretch of the I-80 corridor is going to be impacted by the storm. And that winter storm warning basically means that there is expected to be major impacts to travel across the region. It's going to become very treacherous, if not impossible, in some locations, especially by Sunday evening. And it could even become illegal because there is a high probability of some level 3 snow emergencies being issued with all the snow that we are expecting. All these winter storm warnings go into effect Saturday night. They're going to last all of Sunday, including the daylight and evening hours, and won't be expiring until we get to Monday morning. That's how long-lived this storm is going to be. So let's give you 3 big points that you need to know. Right now, the heaviest band of snow is expected to develop along the I-80 corridor from the Indiana-Ohio border over to Stony Ridge. That does include places like Montpelier, Wauseon, and the Toledo metro area. Should also note this also includes the US 24 corridor. So Defiance, Napoleon, Waterville, you're going to be in the brunt of the storm as well. All these places are expecting a foot or more of snow. It's very likely we're going to see some places coming in with 1.5 feet, maybe even as high as 20 inches before all is said and done. This is going to be a juicy storm. On top of that, we are expecting a prolonged storm. We're actually seeing the storm slowing down as it moves into Ohio, and that's just going to keep these bands of snow right on top of us. So once the snow begins Saturday night, it may not stop for some of us for 24 to 30 consecutive hours. It's a long-lived storm. Certainly not one of those fast-moving clippers, and there is going to be the possibility of some whiteout conditions. So again, do not plan on traveling Sunday evening. I know the Super Bowl plans you may have, whether you're going out to a restaurant or over to a friend's house, but folks, the roads are just going to be very, very nasty. Some of the restaurants may even end up closing with how bad it's going to be. And like I said, you may not even be allowed to technically be out on the roads by that time with the conditions that are expected, because the winds will be increasing, especially as we go into Sunday evening. That's going to lead to blowing and drifting. Here's the storm taking shape as of Saturday evening, and you can see it is a very large storm. Out ahead of it, there's some warmer air. That's why we're seeing rain across portions of Illinois and Indiana. But by the time this storm gets here, at least for the metro area, it is going to be all snow for us. Now, some of our southern counties, there's going to be a possibility, maybe some freezing rain and sleet mixing into the storm. That may cut down on some of your snow accumulations, but you may have a little more icing to deal with, and we're going to show that to you here in our TrueView model forecast. We're going to start this here 6:45 p.m. on Saturday evening. The early evening hours are dry, but once we get to around 10, 11 o'clock, we'll start to see some light snow push its way into our western counties, including Hillsdale County, Williams, and Defiance counties. So you'll be the first to see some of the white stuff, and it continues to overspread our area. It'll cross the I-75 corridor around midnight, and by the time we get to around 2, 3 a.m., it's going to be snowing pretty much everywhere you go. Now, again, overnight, most of that snow is going to be light, so not expecting a ton of accumulation during the overnight hours, but that is just the pregame show. As we go through Sunday morning, the snow will start to pick up in intensity and really start cranking up, especially as we head into Sunday afternoon. But here's what I'm talking about with the possibility of a little bit of some freezing rain or sleet across some of our southern counties, especially down towards Allen County, where Lima is, Van Wert County, portions of Wyandotte, Crawford County. You may see a brief changeover to a wintry mix as we go through the day. But again, for the majority of us, including Toledo, Bowling Green, Defiance, this will be all snow all day Sunday. Here we go. We go to 6:30 p.m. Sunday evening. This is kickoff time. You can still see the snow is going very strong. And this is the biggest change in our forecast since Friday. It originally looked like the snow would start tapering off at this point. Not going to be the case. It's still going to be going strong as we go through Sunday evening, and this is when those winds out of the northeast will really start to pick up. So this is when the blowing and drifting will become much more of a factor. As we go through the overnight Sunday into Monday morning, you could even see a wider swath change over to some freezing rain. Could get as far north as the Norwalk area, maybe even Tiffin, right on the edge here of Findlay. So again, even though you may not see as much snow, some of our southeastern counties, you may be seeing some icing with this particular storm as it continues to snow here in Toledo. As we head towards sunrise on Monday, back edge of the storm now finally starting to work its way in through, but the snow's still going, the winds will still be going. I would be shocked if there are any school districts open on Monday, because not only will you have the snow and the blowing and drifting snow, but it's also going to be quite cold by this point. We'll likely be seeing sub-zero wind chills as well, so you're going to have to deal with the cold Monday morning. Finally seeing that snow move out as we head into Monday afternoon, but stays a little breezy throughout the day, so again, the blowing and drifting does remain a concern. Of course, the big question is how much snow. This is our model forecast, and I do think it handles the storm pretty well, so I'm going to go pretty much with what this model is saying. We're going to start this here on Saturday evening as we go through the overnight. That first little light batch of snow moves through. We're probably looking at about an inch or two for most of us by Sunday morning, maybe some slightly higher amounts in western Ohio since you're going to be in the snow earliest, and you'll be dealing with it the longest by this point, so maybe a couple of inches to 3 inches out by Defiance. But again, this is just the beginning. The snow continues to fall as we go throughout the day. By the time we get to kickoff Super Bowl Sunday, if you're heading out, well, again, this is probably going to be very tough to get around. Most of us by this point are already seeing a half foot of snow, and this is really only going to be the halfway point of this particular storm, because the way things look, it looks like the heaviest bands of snow may actually develop right about this time, around 6, 7, 8 p.m. And by the time we get to Monday morning, this is 8 a.m. Look at how many of us are above a foot of snow, between 1 and 1.5 feet for the majority of us, and I would not be surprised if a couple localized places see as much as 18, 19 inches of snow out of the system. And again, the bulk of it right along the I-80 and the 24 corridor, also up into southeast Michigan as well. Now, some of our southeastern counties, again, because of the chance for some switch over to a little bit of sleet and freezing rain, you may cut into those snow totals a little bit, but still pretty impressive. Around 9 or 10 inches in Findlay, still close to a foot in Fremont, dropping off to around maybe 6 to 8 inches as you get down towards the Bucyrus area. But everybody still expecting significant shovelable and snow blowable snow by the time we get to Monday morning, and that's why we are expecting high significant impacts with the storm. So we'll wrap this all up into a forecast for you. Cloudy as we go through the rest of our Saturday night with 1 to 2 inches of snow expected. By the time we get to Sunday morning, the winds will start to change to a northerly direction by the time we get to sunrise on Sunday. But through the overnight, the winds will not be bad. They start to increase, especially as we go through late Sunday morning and really into the afternoon hours. They'll be sustained around 10 to 15, but they will be gusting over 20 miles per hour during the day. But it's really Sunday night that the winds really become much more of a factor. That's when we could see gusts in excess of 30 miles per hour. It's when you get the blowing and the drifting and potentially some whiteout conditions, especially in outlying areas. So that's what's to expect, folks. This is going to be a very big storm. This really only happens in our area a couple of times every decade or so. It's not a very frequent type of storm. All the ingredients are coming together perfectly for some significant accumulations and, again, significant impacts on those roads. So that's the latest. We'll, of course, bring you updates on social media. You can follow me on Facebook at Joe Thompson 24 Weather. You can follow me on Twitter at the Joe Thompson, and also make sure to check in with Norm Van Ness. He's going to be here throughout Super Bowl Sunday, and also NBC24.com. We'll keep you posted on snow emergencies that are going to likely be issued across the area, and also make sure to check in Monday morning because, again, I do anticipate widespread school delays and most likely cancellation. So, again, high impact storm. Just be prepared.